I read an article you wrote in 2015.
Yeah.
What was that article about?
It was about what it's like to be on the south side of Chicago, the bullets, the abandoned homes, the drive-bys, the shootouts, what you see with the drugs, the poverty, the gloomy dark cloud that almost like feels like it always hangs over the city, even in the summer. Just the car driving down the street with the loud music, people yelling, people shouting, people screaming, survivalship. What it's like for youth to grow up on the South Side and their experiences, just the struggle of life. Just trying to really paint a picture for people what life is like on Chicago.
Yeah. So you moved to Chicago when you were 3, right?
Originally born in Detroit.
Right.
With my biological father, and my mom was always from Chicago, my whole mom's side. We were in D-Town, got divorced, moved back to Chicago, grew up in Inglewood. We were staying with my grandma, and Chicago was ever since.
Right. And I read some of the stats that you put on there, like what percentage of kids actually see like violence.
Mm-hmm.
That's not San Diego.
No.
Like it's really, do you know what I mean? It's like when I was reading the article, I was blown away at what you experienced, like what your experiences were as a kid. How did that shape you to where you are today? Like if you reflect back on it, what were the events that have put you in this position where you're actually influencing other people and making an impact in the community?
Growing up every day, it was always this amount of people got shot, or you're listening to sirens go past, you're hearing the gunshots in the background, you're hearing about, oh, Johnny got shot today, or you're driving down the street and you're seeing a mother crying over her kid, you're seeing the balloons. You see that so much that you almost become numb to it at some point. And I don't say that to make light of the situation, because people's families are involved in people's lives, but imagine you're hearing that every day for years. So it's expected in a way. And I came to a point, I don't know where exactly it came from, but it came to a point where I'm looking at my surroundings and I'm looking at my life and I'm like, why is this like this? Like, what if and why? And I asked that myself when I was in the gang and when I got out the gang. And that's really where I started to say, okay, if I could do something different, if I have this possibility, then what would this look like? And I think just challenging that stigma, a lot of people, because of the negativity that surrounds Chicago, it's always like, well, that's just how it is. Especially for, African-American males that are between the ages of, 16 coming up to 21. It's like, woe is me. This is my situation. It is what it is. And I don't say that to make light of things, right? People have very different circumstances. Some people are born into situations. Some people, it is very tough to escape situations. So when I say that, I'm not making light of their situations, but I think it is very quickly where people just say, this is the way it is, without trying to take a knee, take a breath and be like, okay, well, what if I can do this, or what if this was different? And I just think that a lot of people don't do that. And I think the fact that I did do that was what started the change for me to go another path.
Do you recall like where that idea was planted, where you're like, there's more to life than what I'm exposed to?
I would say because the pain was so deep, the pain was so great, that I reflected a lot about who I was as a person. My stepdad was very physically and emotionally abusive to my mom. Like, he would hit her. There would be many days where we were going pound for pound, like fighting. And imagine someone every day telling you, you ain't shit. I'm not going to be anything. I had a gift to draw. My biological father was an architect. And even though he was a drug addict and I don't have any type of relationship with him, I always wanted to be an architect. I always wanted to stay in my gift and do something around art or design. And he just kept going. And I'm telling you, like, no matter what I chose to do, no matter what I did, it was always like, you're never enough. You never be this. When I went to the Naval Academy, I was told you're not going to get in, and then you get in and like, you're not going to make it. And then when you graduate at the top of your class, it's like, well, everything you did was still irrelevant because of this. It was just never enough, And I think that when you're constantly analyzing yourself so much as you come up. And I think that because I had that happen, I was always just reflecting on me as a person, my surroundings, people I knew, where they were at, and you see this pain. You see this pain in this person who, my stepdad was a foster kid, and I understood that. You know what I mean? Like I tried to resonate where he was at and understand where the pain was coming from, but at some point it has to stop because you're hurting other people. And yes, hurt people, but it became very extreme because it was affecting everybody, even and of course in a physical manner as well as emotionally. And so I think that's the other mix and part of that question is when you get that so much, it eats at you, and then at some point you're like, I want something different, or like, how do I stop this pain? Like, how do I become better? And you're growing up with pain in everybody's eyes. Your family, your biological father, your stepdad, all your cousins, everyone's in the streets. My mom's brother having 4 uncles, all of them being in gangs or being drug addicts and having so much pain in their eyes and being so messed up that they couldn't even afford to come to my grandmother and my grandfather's funeral. Like, you're a grown ass man. I mean, you're 40, 50, you're 50, 60 years old, can't even come to your own parents' funeral. When you see that, I think it just shapes you differently. You grow up seeing that as a kid. Like, it changes you. Your perspective on life is like, everything is an opportunity. Everything is a blessing. That's why I'm so big on that, because I'm like, when you grow up in that environment, you want peace, and you want change, and you want to do things the right way.
You were going to blows with your stepdad?
Yeah.
I actually went to blows with my father because I get it, and that part of it, like in the Persian culture, like that physical abuse. And I'm not. This has nothing to do with culture. Everyone's got different lives. How old were you when that happened?
I mean, I was in middle school.
Wow.
When it started.
And Dre, here's the thing, like, growing up that way, you're middle school, you're what, 10, 11, 12, around there. And you're like, the pain gets so deep. I'm always blown away at people's stories on how they can be in some of the worst situations, keep that mental, correct their mental well-being, and be able to accomplish so much. So, like, as you were growing up, when did things start to shift for you? I mean, you decided the pain is too much. This is not how I want to live. So what did that look like afterwards? Like, what did you end up doing?
Every male is going to have a coming in age.
Yeah.
I joined a gang at 12 because you cannot dream what you cannot see. So I'm seeing the guys in the corner, the people with the cars, they got the girls, they got everything that's fancy, they're protected, they're feared, especially in an environment like that. So for me, I joined because I wanted the same thing. I wanted the clout, I wanted the status, I wanted to be respected, and I also wanted that safety for me and for my brothers and for my family. So I did that for a few years, and I'm actually glad that I did do it because it gave me more perspective, and it opened up a lot of things about me as a leader and as a person that I didn't realize.
What was that?
What was that?
Yeah, what was it? What was
leadership.
It that you...
So I remember you got to do certain things to get in a gang. Everybody is kind of different, but typically, like, they'll beat you in, and there's other initiation things that you might have to do, partake in a part of that as well. And I confronted them after a few years that I want to get out after a life-changing moment, and they were in the process of beating me out, and the main gang leader, Smoke, stopped it. And he pushed everybody off. He's like, yo, you good with us. You always stood by the game. You always carried your weight. You was always respected. You was always a leader. And we always seen that in you. And you inspire us. And that's one thing that I realized that was the first time I ever heard somebody say that to me. And I'm like, man, if I could inspire people in this environment that are in gangs, why can't I do that somewhere else? And when I saw that, and as I've come now in life, I realized that like when I meet people, I'm always trying to spread my passion and my hope and my belief to other people. When I look at you, I'm listening to I'm looking at the way you dress. I'm looking at how you speak. I'm looking at the things that you say and your whole body language, and I'm internalizing it and just your whole ethos. And from that, I'm trying to craft and see, okay, what gifts does this person have? And how can I pull that out of them? How can I touch them and transfer, even if it's a jolt of a little bit of greatness into them? And I can't explain where that comes from. I can't explain where that comes from, but I really do. When I speak to people, I'm always trying to leave them and try to uplift them and motivate them and push them to be their best selves. And that's when I started to see that round robin where speaking came from. Because when you started speaking, it was like, man, I really love this. It comes so natural. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the hustle and bustle of traveling to do it. I enjoy just staying in front of people or speaking to people on the visually and an intimate level and being like, yo, like, get after it. Like, this is where you're at. Get after it. These are your gifts. These are your skills. Get after it. Be your best self. It naturally is something that just comes out of me. And I'm still exploring that and mastering that. But it, for whatever reason, is something that just innately comes out of me. And maybe that's just a part of because of where I came from. I say that, I assuming that it has something to do with Chicago.
If you enjoyed what you saw, like, share, comment, and forward to someone that this will bring value to. Thank you so much for all the support. We appreciate it.